Okay, so this is Miss Leung here. I would like to finish biodiversity this week, and then so next week when I come back, you will have the test for this chapter directly. Okay, let's begin. In fact, the focus of this chapter is only on classification. Classification. Yes, here. In biology, classification, the study of classification is also called taxonomy. As we talked about last time, for living things, that means the organisms. In the new classification system, we classify all the living things into 3 domains. So that's the latest classification system. In fact, the classification system keeps changing because of, if you remember of the nature of science, the scientific knowledge keeps changing. Because sometimes we have some new observation. That means when we have some new observation of some new structures, a new species, we have the evidence. And these kinds of new observations and evidence will make the scientific knowledge change. So that's why, in fact, the classification system change a lot. In the old days, we only have animals and plants. And then later on, we know that with the technology, also limited by the technology, with latest technology, we also can observe some smaller organisms, such as the bacteria. So that's why, in fact, for the classification system, it keeps changing. So the latest one that you need to learn is that we have 3 domains. One will be bacteria. Another one is archaea. And then the last one is eukarya. So that is in your book you should have some kinds of similar diagram like let's see, because I don't have the textbook at home right now, so you need to refer to, we have a chart like, oh, let me find. So the 3 domain, this one, right here, you should have something like this domain: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. So domain here. And then branch from the domains, it will be kingdom. So we have 3 domains and 6 kingdom. And these are something new that you can only find from the DSE curriculum. Because in the A-level curriculum, the classification system is the old one. So that's why it's a little bit different. So if you do past paper for this part, you can only find the past paper from DSE, but not A-level or certificate level. Those are outdated already. And then for each branching, bacteria is branched to eubacteria. And then archaea is branched to archaebacteria. And then in fact for bacteria and archaea, both are related to the prokaryote, because they don't have a true nucleus. They don't have any membrane-bound organelles. So remember, in fact, for this too, one of the characteristics is that they have no true nucleus, no cell, no membrane-bounded organelles. So in fact, they can do respiration, but they are not using mitochondria because no membrane-bound organelles. And Same case, so they have no chromosome. So if you remember, these are the characteristics of prokaryotes. But in prokaryote, we are using this word to describe the cell type. But now in classification, we are talking about the type of organisms. Then we use kingdom and the domains. And in fact, if you just look at their features, for bacteria and archaea, you can't see big difference from the microscope, because both of them, they just look very similar like bacteria. The major difference is that for archaea that branch into archaebacteria, they can resist to, so for this one, okay, archaea means very old. For this branch, the only difference is that their cell wall is quite different from those from plant cell, or the composition is quite different from those bacteria. That their cell wall composition can make them resist to, for example, resist to UV, extreme pH, or extreme high temperature. So that's the major difference. But if you just look at some photomicrograph, you can't observe the difference. Only by studying the chemical composition, then you will know the difference between these two. So most of the time in public exam, these two are not the major focus. So in fact, the major focus is here. Eukarya. Eukarya branch into 4 kingdoms. One is Animalia, the Plantae, fungi, and then the last one is Protista. Protista for the kingdom name, and for the animal sometimes, for the organism we just call it protist, but for the kingdom's name it is Protista. Okay. And Animalia, Plantae, you know it already, so we don't talk about it. Okay. So fungi and Protista, we'll talk more about this too. Later on, I will scan this and put it, send to your email. Okay. Let's talk about fungi. In this chapter, you need to know its structure. So if you look at your book, so this is again a summary that you need to know. Okay. I'll refer to your textbook by yourself. Let's talk about fungi. For fungi, one thing that you need to know is that remember, they can't do photosynthesis. Okay. So they are a kind of saprophyte. And their mode of nutrition will be saprophytic nutrition. They can digest, so similarly, they are digesting organic food into inorganic substances. But one thing that you need to remember is that so that's why some kinds of fungi, we also call this process, we call it decomposition. So break down organic food into inorganic substances. You will find that it is opposite from plant. Plant make use of those inorganic substances, and then by doing photosynthesis, it make organic food. So it is an opposition. So this is also called decomposition. So that's why fungi and also some kinds of bacteria can also do this. For saprophytes, we are talking about the organic substances are dead or non-living. For example, those from the wood. So those are non-living. Or sometimes some kinds from the dead body. If it is from living, then it should be parasitic, not saprophytic. And for fungi, some example that you must know will be mushroom, yeast. So that's why for fermentation it will be related to this one too. And then one more for mold. Another one is mold. Bread molds, any kinds of molds. For the structure, in fact, you only need to remember one thing is there are fungi can be unicellular or multicellular. But if it is a multicellular organism, for example, you can imagine if this is a mushroom. Okay. Then here you should have a lot of cell here. So composition should be, if it is multicellular, a lot of cell here. To digest food, they secrete enzyme. So for example, if I have organic food here, so this is a food which is organic. Some food debris left here. Then in fact the cell, if it's like some long strand here, a cell here, the cell in fact they will have a very long lengthened parts. Okay, we call this hyphal in plural. Singular is hypha, but most of the time we use the plural form. That they will secrete some enzyme out of them. The enzyme and then will digest the food. So this is a kind of external digestion. So after that, the food will be broken down to smaller units. Or for example, glucose, amino acid, smaller parts, or directly into some inorganic substances. So after the digestions here, they are ready for absorption. And then they will be absorbed by active transport or diffusion. So what they are doing is external digestions. They don't have digestive system inside. So this is how saprophytic nutrition takes place. So if you have the book, you can find some similar diagram like this. Okay. So if you look at something, a diagram like this, all these very small string, these are the hyphal. These are the hyphal. 菌絲. And then the black color here, this is, we call it the spore. For fungi, and also for some non-flowering plant, they reproduce by producing spores. 孢子. And then they can be easily spread by wind. So that's why, in fact, for fungi and also some non-flowering plants, you can easily find them. So if in fact it will be like this. If you have a pieces of bread, you don't do anything, the spore from the bread mold in fact is very small and invisible to a human eye. So with the wind, okay, carried by the wind, if you just put the bread here, you do nothing, then accidentally some spore will left. And then later on, there will be more and more hyphal. Okay. If you try to do a fair test in another one, you have a bread that you have UV treatment to kill the microorganism first, and then you put it in vacuum or in a closed container without air, then you will find that they will not have any bread mold, because the mold, the spore, is from the air. So this is something that you need to know. And if we compare this field, okay, here. If we compare Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, Protista, and plant is the largest one, in fact. Yes, plant is larger in size. The tree is very large. Plant will be larger than animal. And then the Animalia larger than the fungi. For example, mushroom, you can still see it easily with your eye. And fungi will be larger than Protista. And then Protista will be larger than this two. For these two, they are similar in size, very small. And then the last one that I need to mention will be Protista. Okay, then I can write here. Protista. For the kingdom name, it is Protista. But if you remember for the causative agent in infectious disease, then sometimes we just say caused by protist. In fact, some are animal-like. The other, we say those are plant-like. For plant-like, one example will be the algae. Algae is not a plant because the structure is very different. If it is a plant, it should have leaf, root, and stem structure. So algae is not. Algae can be unicellular, but plant must be multicellular. And then if it is plant-like, then we have algae. For animal-like, one example, you know that we have amoeba, we have paramecium. So in fact, they are just some unicellular organism or some kinds of, we say some kinds of small multicellular organism. So if you look at your book, let's see, if you just look at this one, I don't know whether you have a similar exercise in your book. So amoeba is a protist, but animal-like. Spiral java, this one you need to know about it. Spiral java is a kind of algae, a multicellular algae, and they have a lot of corpus here, spiraling to increase the exposure, the surface area exposed to the sunlight. And then this is something like, it's green in color, so it may be a plant-like protista, but it can move. Paramecium. And then this one, you need to remember the name, plankton. Plankton, sometimes in Chinese we just say it is 浮游生物. But if it is plant-like, we call plankton. If it is animal-like, we add two more words here. Zooplankton. Zooplankton means some kinds of plankton that can move or move quite quickly, but still is like 浮游生物. So these kinds of zooplankton will be the food of some marine organism like shrimp, or even whales. Some kinds of whales, they only eat zooplankton as food, 浮游生物. And then for seaweed, remember seaweed is not a plant. Seaweed is a kind of protist. So it belongs to the kingdom Protista. So if you look at it like this, remember these are not leaf. And very important is that there's no root. So that's why it is not a plant. So to summarize all these, what you need to remember is that we have 3 domains, 6 kingdoms. And then you need to remember bacteria as a domain, the kingdom, Eubacteria. If Archaea as the domain, Archaebacteria is the kingdom. And then for the last domain, Eukarya, then we have 4 kingdom belongs to this domain. Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, and Protista. So we stop here.